We hope to take people into the future workplace and to get their unique skills.
I really love the notion of boundary management and helping some of the people to detach from work.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode number 4 of the World of Work podcast of the WOW. Those were the voices of the guest speakers of this very special live session. The voices of Bilge Apak and Aleksandra. Hola, Potrykus. I know I'm still pronouncing her name wrong and she will forgive me for that. So as I was saying, we had a live event. It was on April 22nd. It was an hour and a half, lots of participation. And the topic was shaking up the world of work and kind of what happens when the wowers meet the shakers. So I decided to divide this episode into 3 digestible parts. Let's tune into part 1 where we get to hear more about the stories of Bilge and Ola, how their world of work has changed and how they pivoted as well their careers from working in Mondelez and then creating their own organization called WeWent and also creating a very interesting movement called Shake Up the Workplace. But let's tune in and let's find out a little bit more.
Aleksandra Potrykus. Hi everybody, nice to meet you.
And my name is Bilge Apak.
And Bilge Apak, so they met in Mondelez, they have a corporate background, and then they pivoted and changed careers already, was it 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, we started 6 years ago, but left the corporate environment in 2018.
2018. And they're co-founders of a company called WeWent and Shake Up the Workplace. And therefore, let's start the conversation getting to know Ola and Bilge a little bit better, and then we would really like to get your comments, your questions, have a bit of movement and debate, even if it is in a 2D virtual setup. So who would like to start, either Bilge or Ola, in terms of how, again, the season 2 is about pivoting careers, it's about embracing multiple professions. How has your world of work changed in the course of these years?
Wow, that's a loaded question. But
it is a wow, yes, that's what it's.
First of all, hi everyone, and we're happy to be with Paula actually face to face today. That's why you would see my eyes sometimes moving in different directions. I'm looking directly at Paula then. We built WeWent, which is an upskilling platform. We bring together providers of business coaches, trainers, and facilitators who are freelancing, who draw their own path, that they know their expertise at this and they want to help other companies. So we are basically enabler of this network, talent network to the companies. And before we switched to this, we were in Mondelez. Many of you can relate with the products of Oreo, Milka, and so on. That's where we met each other with Ola. And I'm very happy to be here today with her. This is, I think, the first podcast that we are together, and you might see that how important it is to have a right teammate and partner while you are on a big mission. I don't know if this is enough to answer, but I just want to also give some words to Ola before we continue.
Absolutely. Well, maybe a little bit your background, where you're from.
Thanks for reminding.
Just to get a little bit comfortable. In the meantime, welcome Monica, great to see you as well, and Josefina, hi, it's been like too long, but anyway, wonderful to see you.
So I'm originally Turkish and I moved to Munich in 2007, that's where I met Ola. And 2010 I moved to Zurich, still in the same company, so after 10 years of being in corporate environment, we said, okay, let's shake things up.
Okay. And the other shaker, Ola.
The other shaker. Hi everybody, really nice to see everybody. It's a very inclusive podcast, I have to say. Seeing everybody on the other side, that's a nice experience. I'm Aleksandra, Ola, originally from Poland, have been in Switzerland for more than 12 years, and already from Bilge, we started in a corporate environment. We called it family and home for a while, but at some point heard the calling for something more. And our journey was a bit interesting as well. Maybe that's something that, we didn't just jump, the minute we had the idea. We actually took some time juggling the two. And maybe that's, I don't know if we will get the chance to dig into that, but one of the learnings was at some point we're really trying to juggle both the very demanding corporate jobs and building a business. And at some point we realized we are not superheroes, we are just human beings. It was really, really draining. It was impacting health, it was impacting family life, social life was gone. And after 2.5 years of juggling, we decided to make a jump, and that's something maybe worth just sharing. And that's my biggest lesson of, you're not a computer, you're not a machine, you're a human being, and you have to take care of yourself holistically. And looking forward to digging into more. Let us know on the chat what's interesting, because we can talk forever, but would love to hear what helps you.
Yeah, and so linking it to that, right, and we have seen how this world of work literally is going quicker than we can keep up with to a great extent. I mean, it always feels like we're running after something. It's either upskilling, reskilling, downskilling, and this pace, the sense of pace, and I'm kind of linking it to what you were saying before, that, realizing there comes a moment where, well, hold on, you press pause and you say what is really relevant and what's important. Perhaps sharing that story, that narrative, and how you came to reach a point to say, look, we've learned a lot, and I'm sure you have learned a lot, contributed a lot in Mondelez. I think, Ola, you were in HR, and Bilge.
I was in IT.
In IT. It's a fantastic combination, guys, by the way, computer scientist and HR. That's the future of humans in companies. And so how did that come to be? Maybe, Ola, we can start from you in terms of after how many years then you took that decision to pivot, but not fully, because you're still involved very much into the HR world, right? The development world, the people side of the world. But
a story that I think is worth sharing is, firstly, I give all the credit for the idea to Bilge, and thanks to her we are where we are, because I was that happy corporate citizen. I called myself a corporate soldier who imagined years in corporate, working in different HR roles. I really enjoyed that life, I have to say. And then she comes, a best friend of yours comes. We knew each other for this 10 years. She comes and she says to me, "Why don't we do a business together?" And I was like, "Oof, there's so much that we could risk going into business together." Our friendship, firstly.
True.
Yeah, we never worked together. We are in the same office, but we've never experienced working together. That's also going to be interesting. But she was very patient with me, and she said, give it some time, have a think. I have to, and we didn't disclose that as well. We are both mothers as well. I was pregnant when she asked me, so that was just adding an extra level of complexity, I have to say, to a challenge ahead of me, not knowing what it will be, to be a mother, to be a corporate employee, and then maybe to be an entrepreneur as well. And what helped, I think, immensely is there are a lot of different opportunities where you can test a bit and get out there without making the huge leap. And what we did is we went to Startup Weekend. Startup Weekend is a global initiative. It also happens in Zurich, now currently online, but also hopefully soon physically. And Startup Weekend is a weekend where you bring your idea, you validate it, you really spend Friday, Saturday validating, building business model canvas around it, getting coached around it, and then on Sunday you're pitching your idea, and you get to be judged by the jury, and people vote for you. And we won the Best Pitch Award in that.
Wow, that's...
Thank you.
Kudos, really. Well done. Giving me ideas too, by the way.
I was 7 months pregnant, so you can imagine. We were 2.5 people pitching, which was, I think, a bonus that got the attention, I'm sure. The magic juice of motherhood. And people really told us, wow, ladies, you have something to offer. Don't give up. But also very wise coaches at that time told us, ladies, don't jump immediately, keep your jobs, this is your security, keep on validating further your idea, but don't give up on it. So maybe pause here, because I could speak about it for a while.
you want to pick up the baton from there and tell us how the story continued? What was that wow idea, by the way, if you can disclose?
It was WeWent, starting of WeWent, basically, yes. So in my case, I was in IT environment, working with innovation, data, whatnot, with lots of consultancy people and, in a global team. So I experienced firsthand this interactions with people, how to build and now we are living the reality of working in this remote environment, which was already reality for me when I was in a global team. And I could see the things that we should fix, and I couldn't stop myself. Okay, I'm gonna make a jump from this IT world into human world, human resources, which I'm interested more in the human part of it. So that's what it started, basically. I said, let's do something about it, and I know who is good at it is Ola. I have to talk to her, and we should get onto it. And if it's anything technical, so I have the knowledge for it as well. If you're going to build a software, or if you're going to build a human needs, then together we would make the best team. Yeah, so the idea was there, we tested it, and then we owned our own path. We stayed in the corporate environment for the next 2 years while we were building the business, and what we had was great support from network people, mentors. So we kept our one feet in the corporate, but also we kept our radars open fully to the outside world, what's happening there, who can help us. So we weren't alone. I mean, we were together, first of all, but we had our encouraging husbands, which is very important as well. And we were surrounded by people who were ready to help us.
I think what's also worth mentioning is we are very transparent with our corporate environment that we are doing something. And we spoke about Startup Weekend. We spoke about, we got this great feedback. We want to go further. We went to Web Summit in Lisbon. People wanted to hear what did we learn from that. So, it was a nice addition to the regular daily job and the daily conversations we had in the corporate. But I think we were really lucky to be supported in the culture that really said, go ahead, it doesn't matter if you're in the office or not. We had the flexibility a long time ago already in the environment we worked in. So that was an environment where this was accepted, and possible. I think
that's so important, right? Because I mean, also in the previous episodes, there's so many different ways of going about this, right? There was, for example, Gareth. He was talking about how he's simultaneously as well he's not only into medical affairs and medical writing, but he's also a writer himself in science fiction. And he's also, I think, a martial arts fighter, etc. And all of this simultaneously in parallel, but always communicating and making sure that also the company is aware of that. Christina, who's on the line, right? She decided on the line, not literally on the line, but on the line in the sense she's connected with us. Decided instead was brewing, let's say, the idea, and then took that pivot and that switch. In your case, you also decided to go in parallel before doing that, but the importance of the corporate environment being open enough, because there's nothing to hide, right? And I think it's always a win-win also for companies to learn what you can bring inside in the meantime. And it should be more seen as a peer-to-peer partnership as opposed to an employer-employee relationship. At least that's the way I would imagine the future of work being. Sorry, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize that point.
Maybe another interesting fact, sorry Paula for interrupting, is the organization we were in was transforming, and they were on a huge cultural shift and transformation, I think is the right word. And that was actually for us also an opportunity to say this is the right moment to leave, because we had an opportunity to say, hey, we want to leave, and that worked kind of time-wise. So we took our time also to wait for the right moment to leave, and we didn't want to just drop it. And
of course,
we also loved our jobs. Let's be honest.
Of course.
I think we can say it honestly. We really loved our jobs. So it took a while to say goodbye to it fully.
Well, and it's never goodbye. I come from Italy. We say arrivederci. Arrivederci. We shall meet again. There's so many people actually on this call that I have not seen since 20 years. um, but we always do meet again. And so tell us about, because I was intrigued also about the title, to be honest. I do like language and a little bit of a linguistic, so I'm picky on language. We went. We had this conversation all
Yes.
a month ago. I couldn't understand we and then went. So maybe give us a bit the sense of where are you going? Where are you going with the we went, and what's how your new mission, let's say, within this humanistic but also technology driven and digitally driven world? I'd be curious to hear.
Sure. The name WeWent actually came from doing things together. When you talk about an experience, when you're with your team or when you're in your circle, you always say, "Hey, we went to this." Well, going somewhere is not really now together is not really
We went
a
nowhere.
possibility. But now we use it in the notion of more. We went to future. Yeah, we hope to take people into the future workplace, and to get there you need skills. We know that by 2024, 40% of the workforce need to upskill within 6 months to get there. So our aim is to close this gap, but also bring the soft skills that are very much needed in the future. So we're focusing on the soft skills rather than really hard skills, let's say like sales. But we are more about growth mindset, negotiation, making sense. I don't know, help me, Ola. So we have like hundreds and hundreds different providers who helps with those skills, or they intervene and help the companies to decide what is the next step for them. So this is right now very crucial, and this is what's going to change the workplace in the right way. If you have the right people to come in and activate your learning, basically, because right now learning can be done on your phone, on your screen as you wish, but is it really the learning that is activated and implemented later on?
So how, because that's a big topic now, isn't it? And on the skills of the future, and I think it was last year there was a webinar with the CHRO of IBM, who was saying something unbelievable, which is the shelf life of skills. Now you were saying 6 months to learn, but actually after 6 months
you relearn.
You're redundant in those skills. You need to continue to continue being upskilled, let's say. And so what are you ladies seeing there in terms of what are the how to help perhaps, but not only organizations, also individuals and people, to understand what are those skills and those perhaps even natural areas where I can gravitate towards, and that I know it's going to be easier for me to learn on the one hand, but also the companies, how are they going about this big topic on how do you manage this ambidextrous organization. On the one side you need the skills, but after X amount of time they're already going to be not obsolete, but that you need to go to the next and the next and the next version. I'd be curious to...
You're referring to the half-life of the skill, and
Yes.
it's the skills we obtained 10 years ago
That's
are
right.
obsolete
And
today,
yes.
and something I learned 5 years will be fully obsolete in the next
Correct.
5 years. So very interesting indeed. There is so much, and for digital skills it's even faster. So that's also a very interesting element to bear in mind. I'm just reflecting on what are the hot topics we currently get from organizations, and it's very very much times related. Pandemic.
Priorities have changed, right? For this time,
Yes.
suddenly there's a shift on the skills needs.
And what are they, like in this specific time? That maybe it's very contextualized, I get it, but I'd be curious to...
It's more towards how do you enable remote work? What do you need?
Okay.
You need more different communication skills than what you would need for face-to-face. So it's towards communication skills. How do you manage your time? And big one is resilience. How do you stay resilient? Because you have now too many things to juggle. So these are the top three that comes to my mind. But then there's also this digital fluency. How do you keep learning, because you need to also do it online now. You are not only at work and you have all the equipment you need in the office, but you need to also shift to different tools to continue the collaboration and innovation with your team.
So raise your hands out there if you're interested to know, because I am, but I don't want to be asking all the questions. How? So raise your hands, because we can see you, or just do. Sunita, you really are enjoying your day. I can see. It is blue sky dreaming out there. But maybe Sunita wants to pitch in on resilience, because I think you have a good strategy on that. But your topic on resilience and digital fluency. So what I'm hearing is, we know it, right? These unboundaries by now of our lives. Fluidity has reached to the point of boundary-less type of ways of living and working. So, and how people can move away from a sense of fatigue around all of this, or perhaps a sense of lack of, how can I say this, of feeling in control, to being more in control and being resilient. What would you, this is, by the way, completely unscripted, so if you notice they are in a moment of reflection, it's because this is very spontaneous. What are those things that you've noticed that help people currently at the moment when it comes to keeping that resilience, and B, being able nonetheless in this liquid world to put nonetheless some sort of anchor points so that they're not overflooded? Are you interested in that question? One, two, three.
We have some.
Okay.
Shall I start?
Thank you.
We had a very interesting session last week, actually, on the Shake Up the Workplace community on boundary management. And, I think last year we've seen a lot of organizations going into yoga classes, mindfulness, etc. And that's great, that's already a step forward on well-being and mental health. But mental health, how do we really tackle it, and how do we equip ourselves, the managers, the teams, the organizations to go beyond that? And I really love the notion of boundary management and helping some of the people to detach from work. Because when boundaries are so blurred, and they have been in the last year, how do you recognize where you have to switch off, and how do you find a way to switch off that works for you? Because there is no one size fits all, that's for sure. So we discussed a couple of interesting tactics. The speaker who joined us actually had a very interesting tip on using a boundary journal, where she would color code her calendar, and you could say she's a workaholic. She works 6 days a week. She's always on, always responding to emails. But actually, by her journal, she was flagging where she went for a run. She took time to read in a week, in the middle of the working day. She was doing different tactics to take care of herself. That worked for her. It wouldn't work for me, because I'm a mother with a child in kindergarten. My child comes at 3:30 or 5 home, and I need a different tactic. So my evenings are dedicated to my family, and there's no work between 6 and 9 p.m. So just understanding your different tactics and looking at how you can manage your own boundaries was a very interesting thing. And I think, Bilge, you didn't cover the other topic that is hot, is diversity, inclusion, belonging. And to me, anything that touches upon well-being and resilience also needs to touch the topic of inclusion. We have to be inclusive in order to support very different needs among our teams and the people. So having that mindset of we are not all the same is really critical. That would be my 2 cents to the whole resilience topic.
I can speak from my own experience, because we're not experts on resilience. We had actually an infographic made what can help companies to fight this pandemic fatigue. So there are many ideas there for companies, what they can pick up, where they can help. Switch the budget from office services into more house services or sending food help, because we're juggling between cooking, cleaning. It's like 24 hours, and like Ola said, my son will come home at at 6. This is it. I have time. Just
That's your boundary there.
Yeah,
That's already telling you
yeah.
a very clear anchor point.
Exactly. Things have to finish by 6, so there's no other way I can deal with that. So it's very easy for me to say, even if I book some time around 12, to have some peaceful lunch or go for a walk. I tend to do like, I have so much to do, I'm just gonna finish this, and I will just take 15 minutes for food or walk. So this is wrong, obviously, but it's an example from myself. I'm not looking after myself as much as I need to. So we have to be all careful, basically, and companies need to allow people to take this time off. They need to be encouraging, apart from just setting up sessions for yoga and so on. They need to, now they're implementing, no email Fridays or no meeting Fridays. So
yeah, I think it was with somebody, maybe with Chiara or something like that. We saw recently, a couple of weeks ago, a post on LinkedIn, the Zoom-free Fridays.
City
or maybe it was with Veronica,
Yes.
Zoom-free Fridays, and we're like, oh, okay. It was taken a bit ironically, quite frankly, because it's not necessarily about having a day free of a Zoom call, but it's more, I think, to your point, it's not a one size fits all, but it's like, how do you tap in, how do you check in genuinely with people to see how they are, where they're at. I've had some people contacting me and asking me, well, how can I make sure the team is productive? And I'm like, ooh, that's first check how they're doing as individuals first, because everybody, you may have the kid coming in at 6, and that's already the call saying, that's my boundary, or plenty of other situations that you never know where people are at. And by the way, if anybody wants to pitch in on this topic of resilience, I do know there are quite a few gurus out there as well. That I'm not going to call out on you, but I will let you feel comfortable if you do want to share some tips on maintaining a sense of well-being. I think that's also, because I think the word resilience automatically implies a struggle towards something, or whereas feeling good and comfortable in almost like a serene manner is less, how can I say, has less the sense of I got to be resilient to it. But
again, words work for different words work for different people.
Yes.
I really am happy that we talk about mental health much more in the workplace now, and there are organizations that are really shaking things up, bringing mental health topics to the workplace, and I think prevention here is something really important as well. Let's not wait until everybody's burnt out, but let's help them, let's support them and equip them with tools and techniques and tactics and support. Maybe it's coaching, maybe it's psychotherapy, whatever works, but I think appreciating that, if we take care of our physical health, our mental health requires the same care.
Well, this seems like the right place to press pause and to close part 1 of this live episode of the World of Work, where we're talking about shaking up the world of work with the wowers and the shakers. We will pick up this conversation about resilience and about well-being. I think it deserves an episode in and of itself. Actually, I think it deserves a podcast in and of itself. But for now, this is where we're going to press pause. Make sure you tune into part 2. Until the next time, as always, make sure you take good care.